I remember being a 19 or 20-year-old new believer and just really wanting to do good things for the Lord, wanting to prove to Him how thankful I was that He had come into my life and rescued me from the mess that I had made. And I, I wanted to show Him how much I loved Him. And so I tried really hard to live a life worthy of who He was and of who I knew He had called me to be. And I can just remember being frustrated over and over and over again. And I can remember sitting in my bed in my dorm room at college and just crying into my pillow because I just didn't understand why I did so many things that I didn't want to do. Because I wanted what He had for me. I wanted a future where He was leading and where He was in control and where I wasn't controlled by the things inside of me that seemed to have a mind of their own. And then one day I remember it clicked for me. You see, I had trusted God with my past. I trusted Him to come in and rescue me and redeem me from the mess that I had made. But I hadn't yet trusted Him with my future. There was a piece of me still in control of the steps that I was taking, and most of the steps that I was taking, actually. And with every step forward where I was in control, I was incapable of living the life worthy that God had called me to. And no matter how hard I tried or how much effort I put into it, I still lacked what I needed to overcome the sin that was a huge part of my life. And I can just remember calling out to Him and just letting go. Lord, I can't do this. I don't think that I'll ever be able to do this, actually. I love You and thank You for saving me and for redeeming me. But will you save me in the future? And will You redeem my future? Will You help me to start this journey so it's not just this thing that I did once but never really made a difference? But I want it to be this continual transformation where daily I let go of what I don't want and I hold on to what You do want, but I can't do it, Jesus. No part of me can do this. And there's a passage in Galatians where Paul's talking to a young church, and I think that they're struggling with the same thing. I think they loved the Lord and they loved the message of the gospel and they had fully received it and allowed it to redeem who they were, but they were struggling to let it redeem who they were becoming. And they were still in control. And I just want to read that passage to you really quickly of what Paul says to them. It's in Galatians 5:13 through 26, and this is what it says. I'm just going to talk about two different lives, one that is controlled by the flesh and one that is controlled by the Spirit. And he's talking to believers that are controlled by the flesh and what their struggles are. And then he's talking to believers and what the future could be if they would be controlled by the Spirit. So let me read this to you. It says, as God's children, we've been called to live in freedom. So let's turn control of our lives over to the Holy Spirit to lead and to guide us. Then we won't be driven by our selfishness and our personal preferences in the moment. The sinful nature, conditioned from childhood, wants things its own way. But the Spirit gives us desires that are just the opposite. You can't have it both ways. It's pretty clear what happens when we allow our sinful nature to take charge. Just look at the world today. Sex lives that are mixed up, messed up, and self-focused. Man-made little gods that are served in vain. Selfish anger mixed up with control issues that lead to fighting, backstabbing, and jealousy. All kinds of drunken parties and gross addictions. I could keep going. But what happens when we live new, Spirit-transformed lives? We'll be like a super productive orchard overflowing with the sweet fruits of abundant, selfless love. We'll have serenity, at times even joy in the midst of the storms of our lives. We'll have patience for things and people that are different than us, and a gentle, kind commitment to let God be the God over our lives. I think we can all agree that the second part of the list is the list that we want. But even as believers, when we have only trusted God to redeem our past and not yet trusted Him to redeem the future, we're going to struggle. We're going to walk in accordance to what we don't want, rather than surrender to the thing that we were created for. It's the Holy Spirit in us that enables us to not live as who we are, but to live as who He's created us to be. There's a gap. There's a huge gap between the person that I am and the person that He is making me. And the only way I can get across that gap is to surrender every day to the power of the Holy Spirit in me. I don't have what it takes. I do what I don't want to do, and I don't do what I do want to do when I'm dependent upon myself. But when I step into the power of the Holy Spirit, I can be who He created me to be. I can be the best version of myself. That's what it means to surrender fully to Him. He doesn't just want to redeem your past. He doesn't just want to make right the wrong things that have happened to you. He actually wants to redeem your future. He wants to make right the steps that you're going to take. The old has gone and the new has come. But we must open our hands to His power, because only He enables us to be who He's created us to be. Do you need some of His power today? I need it. I don't want to strive. I don't want to strive and to work to produce things from myself. I want to rest in His grace and to allow Him to produce things in me. It's always better that way. Will you open your hands to Him and let Him fill them? Ask for His power today to overcome the things that overcame you yesterday, and see if partnered with Him, you can't do what you thought you couldn't do.